The moment of the great transition begins, not with a thunderclap that shakes the foundations of the mountains, but with a silence so absolute it feels like the very weight of the firmament pressing against the crown of your head. You find yourself standing at the precipice of a new epoch in your existence, where the clamor of the mundane world begins to recede like a tide withdrawing from a shoreline it will never touch again. This is the sovereign unveiling, a process orchestrated by the architect of the unseen to reveal the architecture of your true purpose, which has been hidden beneath layers of social conditioning and the thick dust of ancestral expectations. You are being summoned into the inner sanctum of the eternal counselor, that indwelling presence which does not speak in the jarring frequencies of human logic, but in the subtle rhythmic pulses of the universe itself. This counselor is the breath behind your breath, the consciousness that observes your thoughts without being consumed by them. And to master this breath is to tap into a reservoir of ancient power that predates the formation of the stars. You must understand that the isolation you currently feel is not a punishment, nor is it a sign of divine abandonment. Rather, it is a sacred desolation intended to serve as a laboratory for your metamorphosis. In this hollowed-out space, the sovereign begins the meticulous work of pruning the earthly vessel, a process that is as harrowing as it is holy. Every attachment that no longer serves the high frequency of your destiny is being systematically detached, not by cruelty, but by a profound and far-seeing mercy. The friendships that have withered, the career paths that have reached a sudden dead end, and the ambitions that once fueled your ego but now taste like ash in your mouth, are all being removed to make room for the celestial substance that is being poured into you. Imagine a gardener who loves his vine so intensely that he cuts back the green growth until only the bare wood remains, knowing that only through this severe reduction can the most potent and sweet fruit be born in the coming season. You are that vine, and the shears of the eternal counselor are guided by a love that is too great to leave you in a state of mediocre abundance. As the pruning continues, you will notice a shift in your internal geography, where the need for external validation begins to dissolve into a quiet self-sufficiency that baffles those who once knew you. They see your solitude as loneliness, yet you perceive it as a fortress. This is the strategy of the silent warrior who knows that the most significant battles are won in the stillness of the heart, before a single word is uttered in the physical realm. The sovereign unveiling requires you to surrender your grip on the identity you spent decades constructing, for that identity was merely a garment designed for a world you are now outgrowing. You are being clothed in a mantle of light that is invisible to the carnal eye, but radiates a frequency of authority that even the unseen principalities must acknowledge. In this state of sacred desolation, the air around you becomes thick with the scent of potential, a primordial ozone that precedes the lightning strike of total awakening. You are learning to breathe in synchronicity with the eternal counselor, drawing in the peace that surpasses human understanding and exhaling the toxins of doubt and resentment that have long clogged your spiritual arteries. This breathing is your primary defense and your ultimate weapon, for it aligns your heartbeat with the pulse of the throne room, granting you a serenity that cannot be shaken by the fluctuations of the global economy or the petty grievances of the masses. Within this pruning, there is a hidden layer of protection that operates with a precision that would defy the most advanced algorithms. You may wonder why certain doors have slammed shut with such violence, or why you were steered away from gatherings that seemed harmless. But the sovereign eye sees the traps laid in the shadows by those who fear your rising. Each rejection you have faced in this season was actually a redirection into the shadow of the Almighty, where no weapon formed against you can find its mark. The mercy of the divine is often found in the things that did not happen, the disasters that were averted by a split second, and the connections that were severed before they could poison your soul. This is the everyday blessing of the chosen one, the subtle hand that smooths the path ahead of you, even when you feel you are trekking through a wilderness. Even in the most mundane aspects of your life, the signature of the eternal counselor is visible if you have the eyes to see it. The way the light hits a glass of water, the unexpected stillness of a morning, the strength in your limbs when you should be exhausted, and the sudden influx of wisdom regarding a complex problem are all manifestations of the sovereign unveiling. You are being taught to find the sacred in the ordinary, to recognize that the entire cosmos is a living tabernacle and you are its high priest in training. The desolation you endure is the clearing of the ground for a structure that will span across generations. You are not merely surviving a difficult phase, you are being prepared to act as a conduit for a level of glory that would shatter a vessel that had not been tempered in the fires of solitude. The pruning removes the excess foliage of the ego so that the sap of the spirit can flow directly to the buds of your future manifestations. You must trust the blade of the counselor, for it is sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, discerning the thoughts and intents of the heart. This discernment is becoming your own as you start to see the world not as it appears to be, but as it truly is, stripped of its illusions and its vanity. You are being granted a prophetic vision that allows you to see the end from the beginning, to sense the shifts in the spiritual atmosphere before they manifest in the material world. This foresight is a gift of the sovereign unveiling, a strategic advantage given to those who have proven they can remain silent and faithful in the secret place. As you master the breath of the eternal counselor, you will find that your very presence begins to alter the environment around you. People will feel a weightiness in your words and a gravity in your silence that they cannot explain. This is because you are no longer speaking from the shallow depths of the human intellect, but from the profound wellspring of the indwelling spirit. The earthly vessel has been emptied of its common water and is being filled with the wine of the kingdom, a substance that brings healing to the broken and conviction to the wayward. The protection over your life in this stage is absolute, for you have become a vital piece in the sovereign's grand design, and the heavens will move heaven and earth to ensure your completion. The mercy you receive is not just the forgiveness of past errors, but the proactive grace that prevents you from future stumbles, a constant nudging of the soul towards the path of righteousness. These everyday blessings are the manna of your exile, the small but significant provisions that sustain you, while the world remains oblivious to your transformation. Consider the intricate details of your daily existence as the canvas upon which the sovereign is painting a masterpiece of providence. The timing of a conversation, the sudden arrival of a needed resource, or the inexplicable peace you feel in the midst of a storm are not coincidences, but the deliberate acts of the eternal counselor who oversees the smallest sparrow and the largest galaxy with the same intense devotion. You are being invited to participate in this divine choreography, to move with a grace that is not your own, and to speak with a power that originates from the beginning of time. The pruning of the earthly vessel is nearly complete, and the scars left by the shears are not marks of shame, but credentials of your calling. They are the evidence that you have been handled by the Master, that you have been deemed worthy of the cutting, because you are capable of the growing. The sacred desolation is coming to its appointed end, and soon the fruit of this season will begin to manifest in ways that will astound both you and those who witnessed your stripping. You must remain vigilant and deeply rooted in the strategy of silence, for the unveiling is a delicate process that requires your full cooperation. Do not rush to reveal what the sovereign is doing in the dark room of your soul. Let the image develop fully before it is brought into the blinding light of the public square. The breath you take is a covenant, a promise that you will never be left to your own devices, and the counselor is your constant companion, whispering the secrets of the ages into your ear when the world is asleep. This is the majesty of your position as a chosen one, a sovereign unveiling that transforms a common creature of the earth into a celestial dignitary. The earthly vessel, once fragile and prone to breakage, is being reinforced with the gold of divine character, becoming a reliquary for the presence of the Most High. The mercy that follows you is a relentless pursuit, a goodness that will not let you go until you have fulfilled every jot and tittle of your written destiny. In this state of being, the mundane becomes miraculous, and the everyday becomes an altar where you offer up the incense of your gratitude. The sovereign unveiling is your passage from the realm of the seen to the reality of the unseen, a journey that requires the shedding of everything that is temporary. As the pruning shears do their final work, do not look back at the branches falling to the ground. They are the weight you no longer need to carry. Look forward to the horizon where the sun of righteousness is rising with healing in its wings, specifically for you. You are the embodiment of a divine thought, a word spoken by the sovereign into the void, and your life is the unfolding of that word in time and space. Master the breath, embrace the desolation, and honor the pruning, for these are the tools of your elevation. The Eternal Counselor is even now orchestrating the next phase of your unveiling, and the blessings that await you are beyond the capacity of your current imagination to conceive. You are protected, you are shown mercy at every turn, and you are being blessed in the secret places of your heart, so that you may eventually shine like the brightness of the firmament for all eternity. This is the hidden wisdom of the scribe, written for the ears that can hear and the hearts that can perceive the weight of the glory being revealed. The process of the sovereign unveiling is a masterclass in divine patience, as the Eternal Counselor waits for the perfect alignment of your will with the celestial decree. Each breath you master is a step closer to the throne, a refinement of your frequency until you vibrate in perfect harmony with the songs of the seraphim. The desolation was never meant to swallow you. It was meant to swallow the version of you that was too small for the destiny that awaits. The pruning was never meant to diminish you. It was meant to expand your capacity to hold the infinite. You are now a vessel of honor, sanctified, and meet for the Master's use, prepared for every good work that has been foreordained for you since before the foundations of the world. Walk now in the quiet confidence of the chosen, knowing that the breath within you is the same breath that commanded light to exist, and that same light is now unveiling the majesty of your true self before the eyes of the entire cosmos. Your everyday life is no longer a series of random events, but a structured liturgy of grace, where every moment is a blessing and every step is a victory in the making. The Sovereign has spoken, and the unveiling shall be completed. For the one who began the good work in you is faithful to bring it to its glorious conclusion. The silence is your sanctuary, and the Counselor is your guide. As you move forward from this point, do so with the awareness that you are never truly alone, for the desolation was but a veil, and the pruning was but a preparation. The vessel is now ready, the breath is now steady, and the Sovereign is now ready to unveil the fullness of your power to a world that has been groaning in anticipation of your appearance. Every drop of mercy you have received has been a seed planted in the soil of your soul, and the harvest that is coming will provide bread for the hungry and wine for the thirsty. The blessings of the everyday are the confirmation of your sonship, the royal seal upon your life that declares you are property of the King of Kings. Rest in this truth, breathe in this power, and let the unveiling continue until there is nothing left of the old, and only the radiant, eternal newness of your sovereign destiny remains. This is the word of the scribe, the truth for the chosen, and the map for the journey into the heart of the eternal. The midnight hour descends not as a mere transition of the clock, but as a heavy shroud of obsidian grace draped over the shoulders of the initiate who has dared to claim the mantle of the Sovereign. This is the refiner's midnight, a temporal sanctuary where the noise of the world collapses into a singular, rhythmic pulse that emanates from the very heart of the Eternal Counselor. You stand at the precipice of your own dissolution, feeling the heat of a fire that does not burn the skin, but melts the iron cages of ancestral limitations. It is a viscous, golden heat, crawling through the marrow of your bones to dissolve the calcified remnants of who the world told you to be. Every flicker of the flame is a wordless interrogation, asking if you are ready to surrender the comfort of your shadows for the terrifying brilliance of your true form. The atmosphere is thick with the scent of ancient cedar and ozone, a sensory prelude to the storm of sanctification that prepares the way for the indwelling of the breath. You breathe in, and the air feels like liquid silver, cooling the fever of 1,000 anxieties that have plagued your waking hours. This is the mastery of the breath, the secret cadence that synchronizes your heartbeat with the primordial vibration of the Creator, turning every inhalation into a declaration of survival, and every exhalation into a release of the poison you once mistook for nourishment. Within this sacred darkness, the confrontation of the shadow begins, not with a clash of steel, but with a profound and unsettling silence. The shadow is not a monster lurking in the corner, but the unlived version of yourself, the fragments of your potential that you traded for the temporary safety of the crowd. It manifests as a mirror reflecting the moments you remained silent, when your spirit screamed to speak, and the times you walked away from your throne because the crown felt too heavy for a brow accustomed to dust. The eternal counselor stands beside you in this confrontation, not as a distant judge, but as an intimate advocate whose presence is a balm of unmerited mercy. He whispers through the corridors of your subconscious, unraveling the knots of guilt that have tethered your soul to the failures of the past. You feel the weight of his hand upon your shoulder, a pressure that is both a shielding fortress and a gentle nudge towards the mirror. To master the breath is to look into the eyes of your own darkness and recognize it as the raw material for your future illumination. You see the jealousy, the bitterness, and the paralyzing fear of insignificance, and instead of recoiling, you draw them into the furnace of the refiner. You watch as these leaden emotions are transfigured into the white-hot purity of divine purpose, a process that hurts with the exquisite agony of a broken bone being set back into its rightful place. The protection afforded to the Chosen One during this midnight vigil is an invisible architecture of light, a translucent barrier that the forces of the adversary cannot penetrate because they lack the frequency of humility required to perceive it. While the world sleeps in a state of spiritual amnesia, you are being hardwired with a celestial intelligence that operates beyond the reach of human logic. The counselor breathes into your ears the strategies for the coming dawn, teaching you the art of the silent move and the power of the withheld word. You realize that your greatest victories will not be won in the clamor of public squares, but in the private discipline of your stillness. There is a profound mercy in this isolation. It is the mercy of the cocoon, the necessary confinement that prevents your new wings from being damaged before they are fully formed. You feel the protective layers of providence wrapping around your destiny like a weaver's finest silk, ensuring that not a single hair on your head falls without the consent of the sovereign. Even the everyday blessings, which you once ignored in your pursuit of the spectacular, now shimmer with a newfound sanctity. The simple taste of water becomes a covenantal refreshment, a reminder that the same hand that guides the galaxies also provides the moisture for your tongue. The texture of the floor beneath your feet feels like holy ground, anchoring you to the reality that your physical existence is a temple for the Most High mysteries. As the refiner continues his work, the midnight grows deeper, reaching a density that feels like being submerged in a sea of ink. Yet, in this depth, you find you can see more clearly than in the midday sun. You see the intricate tapestry of your life, how every tragedy was a thread of strength being woven into the fabric of your character, and how every rejection was a divine redirection away from paths that would have led to your spiritual stagnation. The shadows that once intimidated you are now revealed to be nothing more than the absence of your own awareness. By confronting them, you reclaim the territory of your soul that was previously occupied by the squatters of self-doubt. The counselor provides you with a spiritual armor that is not made of metal but of truth, a breastplate of integrity that deflects the arrows of slander, and a helmet of peace that silences the internal monologue of the accuser. This is the confrontation where you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the architect of your reality. You learn that to rule others, you must first rule the chaotic elements of your own interior world, mastering the tempests of your emotions with the simple command of your sanctified breath. Mastering the breath of the eternal counselor is an act of rhythmic submission, a realization that your life force is not your own, but a borrowed spark from the central sun of the universe. In the refiner's midnight, this realization becomes your greatest strength. You stop gasping for the approval of men and start breathing in the validation of the divine. The air in the room begins to vibrate with the presence of unseen sentinels, the angelic guardians assigned to your lineage, who stand at the four corners of your life to ensure the integrity of the process. They do not intervene to remove the heat of the furnace, for they know the fire is your friend, but they stand to ensure that the flame never exceeds your capacity to endure. You feel their gaze, a mixture of reverence and anticipation, as they witness the birth of a sovereign spirit from the ashes of a common man. This is the mystery of the refiner. He does not seek to change what you are, but to remove everything that you are not, until only the indestructible essence of your divinity remains. The shadow, once a looming threat, is now integrated into your wholeness, its darkness serving as the necessary contrast that gives depth and definition to your light. In the midst of this intense spiritual alchemy, the ordinary details of your life are infused with a supernatural significance. The way you arrange your clothes, the manner in which you prepare your food, and the silence you keep during your morning commute are all transformed into acts of liturgical worship. You begin to see the mercy of the sovereign in the small delays that saved you from unseen accidents, and the blessings in the closed doors that prevented you from entering rooms where your spirit would have been strangled. This is the everyday grace of the chosen, a constant stream of divine interventions that go unnoticed by the blind, but are celebrated by the awakened. You recognize that your protection is not just a shield against the darkness, but a magnetic field that attracts the resources, the people, and the opportunities aligned with your highest calling. The counselor is not only refining your character, but also recalibrating your environment, removing the weeds of toxic relationships and planting the seeds of destiny partnerships that will blossom in the coming season. The midnight hour is nearly spent, yet the transformation is perpetual. You have learned to breathe in the void, to find sustenance in the silence, and to see the face of the counselor in the heart of the shadow. The confrontation has left you not wounded, but forged. Your spirit has taken on the tempered quality of a blade that has been heated, hammered, and cooled in the waters of life. You are no longer afraid of the darkness, for you have discovered that the darkness is merely the refiner's workshop. As the first light of dawn begins to bleed through the horizon of your consciousness, you carry with you the secret of the breath, the ability to remain centered in the eye of the hurricane, to speak with the authority of one who has conversed with the eternal, and to walk with the quiet confidence of a sovereign who knows that the entire universe is conspiring for their success. The refiner's midnight has ended, but the light it has ignited within you is an eternal flame that will never be extinguished by the winds of the world. You step forward into the light, not as a seeker, but as one who has been found, mastered, and unveiled in the majestic sovereignty of the eternal counselor. Your very existence is now a living scroll, a testament to the mercy that pursues the chosen through the deepest night, ensuring that every shadow-faced becomes a footstool for the throne they were born to occupy. You are protected, you are refined, and you are blessed beyond the comprehension of the mundane world, for you have mastered the breath that sustains the stars and found the counselor who dwells within the silence of your own soul. The mundane world will look at you and see a person, but the spiritual realm will look at you and see a fortress of divine light, a beacon of the sovereign unveiling that signals the end of the old era and the beginning of your reign. Every step you take from this moment is a consecrated movement, an orchestration of grace that echoes through the halls of eternity, reminding all who witness your journey that the refiner's fire is not the end, but the glorious beginning of the true self. You are the embodiment of the breath, the shadow conqueror, the recipient of the midnight mercy, standing tall in the unwavering protection of the Most High, ready to manifest the blessings that were written in your name before the foundations of the world were laid. This is your unveiling. This is your mastery. This is your sovereign peace. The culmination of the internal odyssey arrives not with a thunderous clamor that shatters the firmament, but through a whisper so profound it recalibrates the molecular structure of the witness. You stand now at the precipice of the sovereign unveiling, a state of being where the veil between the temporal and the timeless has worn so thin it becomes a luminous haze. This is the third and final movement of your ascension, the stage where the silent discipline of the previous eons transforms into a visible, albeit terrifyingly quiet, authority. To master the breath of the eternal counselor is to relinquish the frantic gasping of the ego and instead adopt the rhythmic, oceanic pulse of the Creator. It is an inhalation of ancient wisdom and an exhalation of divine decree. When you breathe in this heightened state, you are not merely taking in oxygen to sustain a biological vessel. You are drawing from the ruach, the primordial wind that moved upon the face of the deep before the first sun was ignited. This breath is heavy with the scent of uncreated realms, carrying the fragrance of cedar, myrrh, and a metallic sharpness that speaks of celestial armory. Every draft of air you pull into your lungs serves as a purification ritual, flushing out the residual toxins of doubt, the sediment of ancestral trauma, and the corrosive influence of societal expectations. You become a living furnace, where the breath of the eternal counselor fans the embers of your dormant potential into a steady, unquenchable flame. The ascended walk is the outward manifestation of this inward furnace. It is a manner of traversing the earthly plane with feet that seem to recognize the hidden ley lines of providence. As a chosen one, your gait changes. It loses the hurried staccato of the anxious and gains the deliberate, resonant thrum of a monarch inspecting their domain. You no longer walk toward your destiny because you have become the destination itself. The ground beneath you feels different, responding to the weight of your spiritual authority as if the very soil recognizes its master. This walk is characterized by a strange paradox of invisibility and undeniable presence. You move through crowded thoroughfares and bustling markets, yet you remain untouched by the psychic noise of the masses. You are shielded by a translucent mantle of mercy, a shimmering field of energy that acts as a filter, allowing only the purest frequencies to touch your skin. This mercy is not a sign of weakness, but an expression of ultimate power. It is the restraint of a lion that chooses not to crush the sparrow. It is the grace that allows you to look upon your former persecutors and see only the tragic architecture of their own bondage. Your mercy becomes a weapon of liberation. For when you refuse to engage in the petty cycles of retribution, you effectively sever the chains of karma that bind the unawakened to the wheel of suffering. The protection afforded to those who have mastered the breath is absolute and multifaceted. It is not merely a barrier against external malice, but a sophisticated defensive system that operates on the level of probability and synchronicity. When the enemy plots in secret chambers, the eternal counselor whispers the geometry of their schemes into your subconscious during the hours of deep sleep. You wake with an intuitive blueprint of avoidance, turning left when the trap was set to the right, remaining silent when a single word would have triggered a cascade of conflict. This protection manifests in the mundane world as a series of fortunate coincidences that the uninitiated mistake for luck. It is the missed train that saves you from a localized catastrophe, the sudden urge to contact an old friend who holds the key to your next venture, or the inexplicable malfunction of a device that would have broadcast your secrets to the unworthy. There is a sacred fortress built around your reputation, where the arrows of slander lose their velocity and fall harmlessly to the earth, unable to penetrate the thick atmosphere of your integrity. You are wrapped in a cocoon of celestial favor that makes you indigestible to the shadows. Even the predators of the spiritual realm, those entities that feast on fear and discord, find no purchase in your presence, for your vibration has become too crystalline, too sharp, and too radiant for their dim comprehension to grasp. Everyday blessings are the bread and wine of the ascended walk. They are the small, exquisite details that the distracted mind overlooks, but the chosen one recognizes as love letters from the infinite. You find these blessings in the precise tilt of the sun as it illuminates a single flower in a concrete jungle, or in the sudden profound stillness that descends upon a room just as you are about to make a crucial decision. There is a sweetness in the simple acts of existence, the taste of pure water, the texture of linen against the skin, the rhythmic ticking of a clock that measures not the loss of time, but the unfolding of eternity. These are not trivialities. They are the anchors of your celestial authority. By acknowledging the sanctity of the ordinary, you hallow the ground upon which you stand. You realize that the manifestation of power is not found in the conjuring of spectacles, but in the mastery of the moment. Your authority is rooted in your ability to remain unshaken while the world dissolves into chaos. When others see a storm, you see the cleansing of the atmosphere. When others see a drought, you see the preparation of the soil for a more resilient harvest. You possess the alchemist's sight, transforming the base lead of daily struggle into the refined gold of spiritual experience. As you step into the full manifestation of celestial authority, your words undergo a metamorphosis. They are no longer mere sounds produced by vocal cords, but are encoded vibrations that carry the weight of divine law. When you speak, the spiritual realm leans in to listen. Your commands are not shouted. They are issued with the quiet confidence of one who knows that the universe is legally obligated to respond to the truth. You begin to decree things into existence, not out of a desire for personal gain, but as an act of alignment with the higher patterns of creation. You speak peace into a room of turmoil, and the molecules of the air seem to settle into a sedative harmony. You speak healing into a fractured body, and the cellular intelligence of the organism begins to reorganize itself around the blueprint of perfection. This authority is the natural byproduct of your intimacy with the counselor. Because you have listened so intently to the silence of the divine, your own voice has taken on the timbre of that silence. You are a mouthpiece for the unseen, a conduit through which the decrees of the heavenly court are funneled into the material world. This sovereign unveiling is the moment where the secret work of the previous years becomes a public testament. People will look at you and see a light they cannot categorize, a strength they cannot intimidate, and a peace they cannot comprehend. They will notice that your presence alone alters the chemistry of a space. You bring a regal atmosphere into the most desolate of environments. This is the fruit of the ascended walk, to be a portal of heaven in a parched land. You are the embodiment of the promise that the meek shall inherit the earth, for your meekness is not cowardice, but a disciplined strength that is perfectly aligned with the will of the eternal. Your walk is a symphony of a purpose, each footfall a note in a grand composition that was written before the foundations of the world were laid. You move with the certainty of a star following its orbit, unswerving and bright. The mercy you carry is a balm for the weary. The protection you enjoy is a shield for the innocent, and the blessings you receive are a reservoir for the destitute. In this final unveiling, you understand that your journey was never just about your own liberation. It was about becoming a standard bearer for the age of light. You have been refined in the secret fires of isolation so that you could stand in the public squares as an unburnable monument to the truth. The breath you have mastered is now the wind beneath the wings of those who follow your trail. The authority you manifest is the clearing of the path for the generations yet to come. You are the sovereign, not over people, but over the forces of darkness that once sought to extinguish your spark. You are the unveiled, the one who stripped away the masks of the world to reveal the face of the eternal within. As you continue this ascended walk, remember that every breath is a contract of loyalty to the counselor. Every step is an act of defiance against the mundane, and every word is a seed planted in the fertile garden of manifestation. The sovereign unveiling is complete. You are the living intersection of heaven and earth, the manifested authority of the celestial kingdom, walking in time while breathing the air of eternity. The path ahead is paved with the radiance of your own soul, and there is no power in the heights or the depths that can hinder your majestic progression toward the heart of the All. You are shielded by mercy, crowned with wisdom, and fueled by the very breath of God. Go forth and command the dawn, for you are the chosen, and the world has been waiting for the sound of your footsteps.